Mountain News, first at 4, continues.
Kentucky lawmakers have passed another version of a state spending plan. Weeks after the House adopted its plan, the Senate has a slightly different one. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what's inside the bill from the state capitol.
The multi-billion-dollar spending plan takes into account millions in surplus money, includes money for state worker raises, along with more flexibility in education and more than $1 billion in tax rebates. The Senate budget spends more than $12.5 billion next year and $13.5 billion the year after that. Senator Chris McDaniel said their priority was state worker raises, and state police would get a $15,000 pay hike, and all state workers would receive 10% raises each of the next 2 years. Like the House budget, there's no definite teacher raise, but McDaniel says there's more flexibility in classroom money for districts to set their own raises. It also includes $500 tax rebates.
Inflation is just crushing Kentuckians. This is their money. They sent it to us. We didn't expect it to come in. It needs to go back to them.
Democrat Morgan McGarvey was the only one to cast a no vote in committee.
We haven't had a chance to read the budget yet. And so this is a document where you just have to look at every page, find out what's in it, find out what's missing. We haven't had an opportunity to do that before voting on it.
Well, this won't be the final version of the budget to be considered. It's likely the House will not completely agree with the Senate changes. Therefore, a conference committee will have to be formed to iron out differences. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
The University of Pikeville is expanding Black History Month, celebrating the stories and voices of Black influence on and off campus. The Weber Art Gallery is hosting the Black Excellence and Culture exhibit with a timeline of Black history from the school and city, and a showcase of student art celebrating historical figures and faces in the fight for equality. Students and staff say it is about continuing the conversation long past February.
Because it's not just 1 month of the year, it's everyday celebration, it's everyday embracing the history and embracing those people who have impact, not just for the students of color and the people of color, but just all over the world.
We'll hear from some students about what this gallery and its message means to them coming up at 6.
Mostly cloudy skies continue around the mountains this afternoon. A couple of areas trying to clear out, but the overcast looks to stick around as we head through the remainder of the afternoon into the evening as well. Mountain Parkway and Slade, you see, overcast, maybe a break or two of sun, but it's going to stay on the cloudy side. Buffalo Mountain here in Perry County, a similar story as the overcast looks to stick with us. Many of us in the middle to upper 40s this afternoon. A few low 40s. Prestonsburg's at 43. Pikeville's at 41. We do have a few spots still in the 30s. Pine Mountain and Wise and even Logan, West Virginia, all sitting in the 30s this afternoon. We're going to continue to see that as we head through the remainder of the evening hours as well. Some clouds trying to move on out, but many of us staying under the clouds as we head into tonight. We back on out and you see there's yesterday's system providing quite a bit of snow to portions of Pennsylvania and up into the northeast. We're quiet for now as we head into tonight. Middle 30s under partly cloudy or mostly cloudy skies. That's ahead of another chance for perhaps some snow around here. I'll have the details on that coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Evan, thank you. Losing your sense of smell and taste are symptoms of COVID-19. Some patients can still experience the problem months after the infection. Now researchers in Philadelphia are testing a new way to restore those senses. CBS's Stephanie Stahl has one woman's story.
Nancy D'Amato is finally able to enjoy eating again. She lost her ability to taste and smell after a bout with COVID-19 last February.
It was really, really jarring. I mean, I lost it instantaneously.
It's often one of the first symptoms of COVID that's usually temporary. But for some patients like Nancy, the inability to taste and smell again lasts and becomes a COVID long-haul symptom.
It was life-changing that I couldn't enjoy any food. I didn't want to eat. It was so depressing.
With limited treatment options, Nancy found an intriguing research project at Jefferson Health.
I really feel that it's helping me.
The Jefferson research is testing platelet-rich plasma, PRP, from the patient's own blood to restore smell. It's been used to heal injuries and regrow hair. Now, instead of injections, Dr. Rosen and his team are using a biodegradable sponge infused with PRP.
We put it up very high in the nose where all the smell fibers are located. Gets absorbed through the lining of the nose. It basically helps those cells that have been damaged by the COVID virus to start regenerating.
He says of the 9 COVID patients who've received PRP, 8 have responded.
I'm able to start to enjoy some flavors, food again.
After 5 treatments once a month, Nancy says her sense of smell and taste are slowly coming back. She's able to enjoy her perfume again and is back to wine tastings. Stephanie Stahl, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Rosen says PRP therapy has helped other patients who have trouble with taste and smell. He hopes to get a grant to expand the research on COVID-19 patients. Pfizer is now testing a COVID-19 antiviral treatment for children. The drug company announced it has started the 2nd and 3rd test phases for Paxlovid in children ages 6 to 17. The FDA has already authorized Paxlovid for high-risk people who are 12 and older and weigh at least 88 pounds. But the latest research will focus on the safety and efficacy of the treatment for younger people overall. Little by little, COVID is going away, at least based on the latest numbers from the World Health Organization. New global cases have declined by 5% and deaths have dropped 8%. The WHO just released the update Tuesday. It's actually last week's numbers. But even though we're seeing a drop in cases and deaths, the WHO says it's important to note several countries are slowly creating more targeted testing strategies, which means there are fewer tests happening overall. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tweeted out video he says shows evidence of a Russian strike on a maternity hospital. Once again calling on those in the West to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine, something NATO says it will not do. The U.S. also shot down a Polish plane to give Ukraine Russian-made jets, The U.S. also shot down a Polish plan to give Ukraine Russian-made jets, but only if they are first delivered to Germany and then flown from a U.S. base to Ukraine.
I think it's pretty clear it doesn't require a military expert to understand why having planes fly from a U.S. airbase into a contested part of a country where there is a war is not in our interest and not in NATO interests.
President Biden tweeted out that he's looking to Congress to pass an additional $12 billion in funding to send weapons and humanitarian relief to Ukraine. Choking off oil and gas money to Russia as it wages war on Ukraine is affecting gas prices, of course, here at home. The national average is breaking records for a second straight day. While the U.S. buys less than 4% of its oil from Russia, getting additional oil on the market to make up the difference will take time.
Putting drills to work means you get additional oil in 6 months, and that's why there is this real concern about this near-term price pressure.
There are some ways to ease the strain on your wallet: fuel rewards programs, apps to track prices in your area, and maximizing fuel use by coasting when possible. For flying, there isn't much someone can do other than avoid it altogether, since some airlines are already planning to pass the higher gas costs on to flyers. Rideshare drivers are taking to social media to complain about the high gas prices. Uber drivers say record pump prices are sucking away their earnings. Drivers for Uber and Lyft are not employees, so they get paid a share of the cost of the ride while the company keeps the rest, which means less profit on days like today, since AAA says gas prices have surged to a new record, topping $4.25 a gallon. Coming up on First at 4, new numbers show many Americans are living paycheck to paycheck despite increasing wages.
And we've got some big-time changes on the way as we finish out the work week. I'll have the full details on when Old Man Winter could return coming up in just a few minutes.
High alert weather dedicated to Eastern